had occasion to spend some time with Willie Dixon about a year before he died. And Willie Dixon used to say the blues are the true facts of life. He said, you know, if you set the true facts of life to words and music, you got the blues. If you sing a song to God in heaven, you're singing a spiritual. But if you sing to earth and man, you're singing the blues. So the blues is simply that. It's like a person's feelings, disappointments, joys, concerns set to music. And in the idiom of black music, you know, because there are certain techniques or certain parts of the aesthetic that comes from West Africa and mixes with the music in the Deep South, you come up with this music that when it's secular, it's blues, and when it's sacred, it's spiritual. But it's actually kind of the same music. It uses a lot of the same techniques, same chords, same inflections. So I think of the spiritual and the blues as being sort of inextricably linked together. And just like Willie Dixon said, when you're singing something that's to earth and man, you sing the blues. When you sing to God in heaven, you're singing the spiritual. I'm not sure blues still has a mecca. You know, where's the mecca of blues? I mean, somebody could say it's Memphis. Somebody could say it's Chicago. Folks in Detroit think it's in Detroit. I think it's kind of like that line from Black Elk Speaks. It says, wherever you are is the center of the world. I think the mecca of blues is kind of wherever the person is who's playing that blues and wherever the experience is. There are some areas that have great blues history attached to them, like Chicago, like Memphis, Mississippi Delta, around in there. But so many of those people who define the blues have scattered to make a living, to go where the opportunity is best, that, you know, wherever they are is sort of where they take that blues with them. And it's kind of funny that, you know, if you go to Boston, you can find songs that were traditional in Ireland that they're still singing around Boston that they're not singing anymore in Ireland. And the same thing is kind of true with American cities. You'll find people in Detroit or Chicago who are probably singing stuff that they're not singing in Mississippi or down in Memphis or wherever. So I kind of think where people are gathered playing this stuff, that kind of becomes the mecca of it. And frequently, also, you know, the whole idea of blues history is that there might be one person in the area, a blind Gary Davis, a Howard Armstrong, Yank Rachel in Indianapolis, and a lot of people gravitate around that individual. So that becomes the mecca, not because of the place, but because of the person in the place. And we had an old fellow around Detroit named Uncle Jesse White, and people used to hang out at his house, and he, you know, you played the blues with Uncle Jesse because, you know, that wherever Uncle Jesse was, that's where the music was. So he passed away earlier this year. So again, we've been fortunate enough to be around a lot of different meccas. I'm sure that wherever, you know, Werner Williams is the mecca. You know, because these are the people who keep this stuff alive and they keep these songs going. Well, I'm working on a number of things. One of the things that I'm really excited about is that since my wife and I are working together a lot now, or working together more now, is being sort of tucked to her patty, whereas I play guitar accompaniment and she sings gospel. It's like finding my way around the gospel sound, implying that sort of church sound on a guitar, whether it's an acoustic guitar or because we often play in places where there's a drummer and an organ with a Leslie. Now I'm discovering electric guitar, so I'm getting a chance to explore that. That's a lot of fun, working with my wife and sort of developing a new sound there. Another thing I've been interested in is I do a lot of schools. I have a program called American Roots Music and Education, ARMIE. And when I'm doing an Army program, it's the idea of conveying history through music. There is a character, historical character named Solaman Northurp, who was kidnapped and taken into slavery in Louisiana. And he was a literate man. He was a fiddler. And he wrote a book called 13 Years a Slave, because it took about 13 years to get him out of slavery through the courts. He had friends in Philadelphia who kept pushing for him. This was around the time of the Fugitive Slave Law, 1850, that kind of thing. So I'm interested in developing a story around him, sort of, playing the fiddle and taking pieces of narrative from his book, turning it into monologues, and presenting that as an educational program. So my wife and I are working on doing a CD together, which will be sort of a holy blues / gospel kind of CD. So a lot of different things on the stove.